What is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my late round draft strategy for 2022 best ball drafts. Inside of today's video, we'll be focusing on 3 different topics. The first topic is going to be defining what a sleeper is in fantasy football best ball drafts. The second topic is going to be tips for identifying sleepers before you get into your draft, and the final topic is going to be off-season sleeper picks. So I'm going to be giving you guys at the end of the video 3 different sleepers that I am targeting a ton in my 2022 best ball drafts right now. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my late round draft strategy for your 2022 best ball draft. So we will start with the first topic of defining what a sleeper is in best ball. A sleeper is a player that is drafted in the later rounds of drafts based upon their average draft position and who is predicted to perform at a higher level when compared to their ADP. So they are going to outperform where they are being drafted in drafts. For example, a wide receiver who is coming off the board as wide receiver number 53 and pick 110, if he was to finish inside of the top 24 at the position, then that would have been a sleeper pick. Basically, a sleeper is a late round pick who is able to vastly beat down the expectations set upon him by ADP. Now, there are going to be some people who give you different definitions of what a sleeper is. What a sleeper is very up to interpretations. Some people may think that because they get a player in the 6th round, that, you know what, that was a sleeper because he was going in the 6th round, and in reality, he was actually one of the top wide receivers or one of the top running backs. But to me, a sleeper has to be going later on in the draft. Typically, I look at pick 100 plus based upon ADP, as if they go after that range, to me, they should be considered a sleeper. So next, we'll move into tips for identifying sleepers before your draft. So the first way to identify a sleeper, in my opinion, is by looking at starting opportunity. If you are able to identify a situation where the depth on a team may be lacking, or a player that may be buried down in the depth chart, and you believe that they have the talent to elevate themselves into a starting role, then you can find a diamond in the rough. And the same thing could be said for a player that is ranked very highly in the depth chart that the team puts out, but they are going very late in drafts, and in reality, they're actually going to be a starting player, but many people are not giving them that high praise. For example, you may be able to find a running back who was in a crowded committee in the offseason. Going into preseason, they're in this huge committee, right? There's multiple running backs, and then maybe a couple weeks into the season, it takes a little bit of time, right, for them to become the lead running back on the team, but eventually they become the leader in the pack. And you were able to find them later on in the draft because you identified that this was a situation where you believe that this crowded committee is going to change a little bit, that this guy is the clear diamond in the rough, the guy that is clearly the most talented out of this backfield, and you're able to find him and draft him, and now he's the starting running back on the team a couple of weeks into the season. The second way in which I identify a sleeper is by looking at vacated targets or touches on a team. When a player who actually gets playing time leaves a team, then they create vacated targets or touches based upon position. If you are a running back, it's going to be vacated touches. If you are a receiver, a tight end, it's going to be vacated targets. So when they leave these vacated targets behind that other players can gobble up when they are gone. If you see a situation, a team where there are a lot of vacated targets, there is a good situation that a new player is going to emerge and take up a lot of those targets. That is why in a lot of breakdowns of rookie players, people break down vacated targets. How many targets are gone that this player could potentially get? How big of a piece of the pie is this player now going to be able to acquire in this offense? Looking at vacated targets and touches is very important in figuring out if a player is going to be a sleeper or not. And the final way, the third and final way, there may be some other ways you guys want to talk about in the comment section. So if there's another way that you guys identify sleepers, let me know down below in the comment section. I love talking to you guys. So the third way in which I am going to be looking to identify a sleeper is by following their ADP movement, following ADP movement as a whole. Following ADP movement of players is a good way to see how the public perceives them over a vast amount of time. People have the tendency to overreact to shit. They overreact to news. They see that, oh, this beat reporter thinks that X player isn't playing up to a certain caliber, or this player is playing amazing, and then people go, oh shit, this one beat reporter told me that X is going to be a breakout player, and then they're like, bang, 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 they're banging the drum, they're drafting this guy aggressively way too early, and then his ADP is going to shift. So you want to make sure that you follow very closely to the news, because the news in the NFL, the news of beat reporters heavily helps shift the ADP. So the ADP movement goes almost hand in hand with news that is coming out during training camp, during preseason. And if you keep a close eye onto that, you may be able to find a diamond in the rough who a beat reporter really likes, or maybe there's a player that you know is actually already good and the beat reporter's dogging on the guy, then you're able to get him a little bit later. Last year, Jamar Chase was getting dogged, getting absolutely demolished by these beat reporters, basically saying that this guy doesn't have it. It's going to take him a couple of weeks for him to get it done before he really breaks out. And then in week number 1, the guy absolutely basically backhands everyone who said that he was going to start off slow. So that's a way to look at things as well. So now we're going to go ahead and move into my off-season sleeper picks. But before we do that, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is known for their NFL best ball tournaments. However, Underdog does not stop there. Underdog has plenty of other contests you can compete in, including live draft contests and pick'ems, in which you can make up to 20 times your entry fee. Use promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. Make sure you guys do get started on Underdog Fantasy today, or just click on the link in the video description. We do drafts on this channel every single Monday. We are live doing best ball drafts. So if you guys want to hop in there with us, hop in the live stream and join the draft with us. Again, over on Underdog, again, promo code Awesemo to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. So my first sleeper that I will discuss in today's video, I actually did a video a couple of days ago on sleepers, so I decided to push those guys to the side for this video and talk about 3 different players. So the first player I want to be discussing here is Russell Gage, wide receiver of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Underdog ADP, wide receiver number 50, pick 106.9. And right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in a very strange situation, because I personally believe that the second Rob Gronkowski either says he is going to return or that he is going to not return this season, then Russell Gage's ADP is going to move drastically. If Gronk is back, Russell Gage's ADP is going to shoot back, meaning he'd go from, right now he's pick 106.9, maybe he's pick 130, 140, because people are now nervous because Gronk's back. But if Gronk doesn't return, if Gronk, say, chooses to party, loves the fiesta, then Russell Gage's ADP is going to go from probably 106.9 to 70 to 80, because people love getting invested into a Tom Brady offense. There is still a little bit of worries about Chris Godwin. How healthy will he be at the beginning of the season? If Gronk does not return, if Evans, if Godwin, who has a history of not playing through the whole regular season, there is a chance that Russell Gage is able to elevate to be the number 2 wide receiver in this offense, the number 2 target in this offense. And if that is the case, then this man could dominate in Tampa Bay. And even with him not becoming the number 2 guy, even as the number 3, with how much this team throws the ball in a best ball format, you could get some humongous spike weeks out of Russell Gage, because you don't even have to think about, oh, is this going to be a Russell Gage game? Is it going to be this game? You don't even have to think about it. The computer automatically puts him in when he has his best game. So you don't even have to think about it. So in 2021, Russell Gage played in 14 games for the Atlanta Falcons, finishing as the wide receiver number 39 in half PPR and the wide receiver number 38 in half PPR points per game. He had 93 targets, 6.6 per game, ranking 39th at wide receiver, 66 receptions, 4.7 per game, 33rd, 770 receiving yards, 55.0 per game, 39th, and 4 total touchdowns, 48th at wide receiver. So in Atlanta, even though Russell Gage was in a really good situation to succeed, because Calvin Ridley wasn't there, because he was, who knows what happened last year, he got hurt, and then he was out, and then he was gambling, and now he's suspended this season. But that has nothing to do with Tampa Bay. It has nothing to do with Tampa Bay. But last year for Russell Gage, he didn't have all that great of a season, considering he was given a great situation. But I do believe that the fact that Matt Ryan was the quarterback, the fact that the Falcons were not playing good at all, definitely hurt Russell Gage. So now he's in Tampa Bay with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, with one of the best teams in the NFL, in a situation where he could be the number 3 wide receiver. Now, I'm not advocating for the fact that I think that Russell Gage is really going to be a top 12 guy at the end of the year. But if there was something to happen to Mike Evans, to Chris Godwin, if Gronk was to not return, there is a chance that Russell Gage, who you're drafting as wide receiver 50 off the board, finishes inside of the top 24. And even more interesting is the fact that you can stack Russell Gage with Tom Brady, with Evans, with Godwin very easily in drafts because of how deep into the draft Russell Gage is going. My next offseason sleeper pick is going to be Rashaad Penny, running back of the Seattle Seahawks, Underdog ADP, running back number 37 off the board right now, pick 117.9. So the draft just happens. The NFL draft happens. They draft Kenneth Walker, and then a lot of people will just push Penny to the side. Hey, I don't want you anymore, Rashaad Penny. But what this man, Pete Carroll, the gum-chewing extraordinaire, has taught me over time is that he doesn't give a shit about draft capital. He, especially at the running back position, Chris Carson, 4 years, was playing over Rashaad Penny, and Rashaad Penny had the way higher draft capital than Chris Carson. So even though Kenneth Walker is drafted relatively highly in the NFL draft, I don't think he's going to instantly go in there and be locked and loaded as the starter. I am very nervous about drafting Kenneth Walker where he's going right now in best ball drafts. And since I'm worried about that, I am mighty happy, mighty fine, just fucking so excited, elated, pumped when I see that Rashaad Penny is there at pick 117. I am pulling the trigger every single time because I really believe that Rashaad Penny could be the lead back on this team for maybe 6-8 weeks in the season. Maybe eventually Kenneth Walker takes over, or maybe it takes all the way until 2023 for him to take over. I really think that Rashaad Penny still has juice left in him. He showed a lot of talent towards the end of last season. Rashaad Penny is not a pass-catching running back, which is going to hurt people's perception of him. But at the end of the day, you hand this motherfucker the ball, he can do great things. He's not in a great situation in Seattle. They have horsecock Drew Lock probably as their starting quarterback. Shit's not sweet over there in Seattle. But at the end of the day, with pick 117, running back 37 off the board, you got a guy that could be the starter for at least half of the season and maybe even the whole season if he's able to stay healthy. Now, if Rashaad Penny can stay healthy is basically fucking impossible. The guy gets hurt every single year. But if somehow, miraculously, he's able to stay healthy, then don't be surprised at all if Rashaad Penny is able to hold on to this job, hold on to the clasps of the workhorse role in Seattle for one more season. Last year, running back 36.5 PPR, playing in 10 games, running back number 23 in half PPR points per game. He had 119 carries, 11.9 per game, ranking 43rd, 749 rushing yards, 74.9 per game, 25th at running back, 10 games, 749 fucking rushing yards. This guy is legit if they give him the ball. 8 targets, 0.8 per game. 6 receptions, 0.6 per game. 48 receiving yards, 4.8 per game. And 6 total touchdowns. Not ranking the hottest at running back. But at the end of the day, even with the receptions not going his way, even if Kenneth Walker's out there catching passes, I really believe that Rashaad Penny might have a much stronger stranglehold over this backfield. And I think if you're drafting in August, you wait till August to do your best ball draft. And if Rashaad Penny, it seems like, oh, maybe Nick was right. Maybe Pete Carroll doesn't give a fuck about where he drafted Kenneth Walker. Maybe he gives Rashaad Penny one more year of run because it seems like Pete Carroll loves Rashaad Penny. Seems like it. So I really do believe that a lot of people are going to be disappointed with Kenneth Walker, and a lot of people are going to be shocked when Rashaad Penny dominates in 2022. So my final player in today's video, and speaking of vacated targets, we got wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, Jamison Crowder. Underdog ADP wide receiver number 69. Very nice. I like. Pick 151.1 in 2021 for the New York Jumbo Jets. He played in 12 games, finished as the wide receiver 68.5 PPR and the wide receiver number 65.5 PPR points per game. He had 72 targets, 6.0 per game, ranking 52nd, 51 receptions, 4.3 per game, ranking 47th. He had 447 receiving yards, 37.3 per game, ranking 47th, and 2 total touchdowns, 79th at wide receiver. So in New York, it wasn't great for Jamison Crowder. But Jamison Crowder is going to the Buffalo Bills, going from this poverty-ass franchise to a franchise that is knocking on the door for the Super Bowl. It's basically Super Bowl or bust for the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills fans will be busting if they win the Super Bowl. So Jamison Crowder, now there, without Cole Beasley, without Emmanuel Sanders. But Nick, don't you like Gabe Davis? I do. I do like Gabe Davis. But would I be surprised if Jamison Crowder saw 120 plus targets? If Jamison Crowder had some crazy games this season when Josh Allen is sprinkling touchdowns left and right all over defenses, when he is taking the top off a defense and Jamison Crowder has a great game, would I be surprised? No. I wouldn't be surprised. I've been a big fan of Jamison Crowder throughout his career. He's dealt with injuries. He has dealt with a not-so-hot Jets team, but now he's in Buffalo. He escaped the garbage Jets and is now one of the best teams in the NFL. I believe that Jamison Crowder in 2022 is being heavily slept on, especially if you get that stack. You get Josh Allen, you get Diggs, you get Jamison Crowder. Chef's kiss. I am so excited for Jamison Crowder, and I think the upside is immense, and he could maybe he squeaks past Gabe Davis and becomes the number 2 wide receiver in targets on the teams. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. Let me know if today's video was helpful. Let me know if there was any tips that I didn't give out in today's video that you would have given out, and give me one late round sleeper right now that I didn't use in today's video. So not Russell Gage, not Rashaad Penny, not Jamison Crowder, that you really like for your 2022 best ball drafts. I love you guys all so much. Hope you guys do have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, guys, good boy.